Well, to unpack Putin's comments there, I'm joined live now by Alexander Titov. He's an expert in Russian foreign policy at Queen's University in Belfast. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
What do you make, first of all, of that warning we just heard there from Putin on Russian nuclear capabilities?
Well, it's the same old story, but I think kind of more context for it is kind of Macron's bit bizarre statement that, talking about sending NATO troops to Ukraine, which kind of caused a lot of discussions in the West and in Russia. So kind of Putin is responding to that. I think one thing, he mentioned was that people, and I think he meant Macron, that who talk about those things don't have experience of wars like the Russians have with the Caucasus and in Ukraine. So he kind of just a reminder that, don't get out of your depth. And it's all serious business here. Yeah.
Is it rhetoric then from Vladimir Putin as opposed to a sincere threat to the West?
Well, it's not a rhetoric or a threat. It's just a statement of fact that Russia has nuclear capabilities equal to the West, and there is a clear and unambiguous escalation path if NATO gets deeper involved in Ukraine, as Macron might have. I don't know, was he thinking aloud or something else was going on in his head? But yeah, so this is just a reminder of what people already know anyway, but just a reminder of what we know now.
Did we learn anything from this speech, do you think, about what Putin's intentions are in Ukraine as the war enters its third year?
No, I don't think. I think there's a kind of a statement of the usual rhetoric that Ukraine is a part of a bigger issue on European security. Particularly relating to NATO. There is issue specific to Ukraine in terms of kind of ideology, etc. But bottom line, I think this is more kind of confident speech in the sense that compared to last year, for example, things are going better for Russia on the battlefield, both in terms of kind of military support received by Ukraine from the West and also kind of huge manpower shortages Ukraine seem to be experiencing with new discussion of new mobilization laws, etc., and Russia gaining key towns in Ukraine as well, like recently Avdiivka they've taken. But mostly this speech is primarily focused. It's a pre-election speech, so there's elections on the 17th of March. Most of it went for the domestic audience, talking about development of various welfare programs. So there's a kind of big contrast between the military aspect and the foreign policy aspect, which he addressed briefly compared to the rest of the speech in the beginning, things what we talked about. But also there's a kind of clear separation between business as usual, business as normal, everything's going well in terms of development and welfare inside Russia, and there is this kind of isolated element of war in Ukraine, which is essentially Russia can kind of carry on conducting without affecting the most of the population, which is kind of basically his message in the speech is. Whether it's true, we'll see.
Indeed. And on domestic politics then, Putin spoke for a number of hours, but there was one name he didn't bring up, and that was Alexei Navalny. Why not?
Well, why would he bring it? He never mentioned his name when he was alive, so he wouldn't mention him when he was dead. Of course, there is a funeral coming up and so forth. But I think there is a kind of quite a big change in terms of in Russian politics, in a sense that the domestic opposition has been a position which is not officially allowed opposition, has been basically defeated and forced into exile or prison. after 2021, when Alexei Navalny came back and tried to instigate a major unrest, which then petered out by summer of 1921. So yeah, in that sense, Putin is kind of more secure domestically because of the lack of this sort of strong figure who can actually cause major sort of protests, street protests, and there doesn't seem to be, everybody else is either in prison or in exile, and there doesn't seem to be anybody else who can fill his shoes. So in that sense, Putin doesn't need to mention anybody anymore because there's nobody else to rival Navalny.
Just a final question, and briefly, if you can. Nobody's left to rival Navalny, you say, and there are to be those elections in 2 weeks. We know Putin's going to win; it's an all but certainty. But do we actually know, is Putin popular right now in Russia?
I would say that there was not a major change. There's lots of shaking of regimes in. At the beginning of the war in 1922, I think now it's been consolidated. The most active protesters have been exiled, and I think there has been some limited running around the flag in a sense that it is kind of Russia against the West, which is a kind of very important and still popular trope among many people in Russia, which is actually is true. It is kind of the Russia against the West, which in a sense gives Putin this. I guess, extra level of support to an extent, particularly those people who already were in favor of him.
Alexander Titov, good to talk to you, sir. Thanks very much.
Thank you.